Yo, what is up, everybody? This is the Nothing New Podcast, episode 12. Yeah, pretty cool stuff's coming up. My name is Ben. Blake is inside training right now. He's doing some cool things. So I wanted to throw in an introduction for today's podcast that I think you guys are going to freaking love. It is an incredible story. But first off, I should probably introduce us. I think that would probably be key in this whole thing, right? So we're a podcast that emphasizes how doing the small things will help you turn the corner with your health, your business, and every other area in your life. Boom. Now that was in place of Blake. So yeah, incredible story today. It's from a former coworker of ours, Leticia. The story she has is going to be one that's going to be very inspiring. It's going to be one that's very, it's going to make you think a little bit about yourself and how you act every single day. And if you're being honest with yourself and in turn being honest and authentic with the people that are closest to you. So without further ado, we're going to get into today's interview with Leticia.
Cool. It's recording. All right. As promised, what is this podcast episode?
I believe it's 11.
It's 11 or 12.
12. Sorry, we're on 12.
We're on the north side of 10. So keep that in mind. Awesome. So we have a really cool story here. We talked about vulnerability and authenticity earlier on. I forget which episode it was. I'll have that in the show notes so you can link back to go listen to. But you can really understand that is a very powerful tool, first off, for understanding yourself, but then also how you can communicate yourself to the world. So it's really important that I think we discussed that. And so we wanted to have on a special guest, talk to her. She is a former coworker of ours. I will let her break down her story because she knows it better than I do. But Leticia, what's up? How's it going?
What's up? It's good to be with y'all finally.
Yeah, it's a good time. We've got all the audio technicalities worked out so we can see each other and we can talk. It's great.
It's great.
Leticia,
it's been a while.
It's been too long. I was just about to say.
It has. I think it's been like 4 years, maybe.
Dang.
3 or 4 years.
Time's flying.
I think it's 4 years in December.
But we follow each other like through Facebook and all that stuff. So it seems like you're doing well. So
yes, y'all too.
Well, I am. Anyways. No, let's get into your story because obviously that is the important thing we're here to talk to today and want people to realize like the true power of what it is to be you and like what you can do when you finally either it's understanding that or coming to terms with it or exactly however you want to look at the phrasing of it, but it's a key thing. So let's hear your story.
My story, I don't even know where to start. I grew up in like a super loving home. And so I always had the love and support that I needed. I didn't grow up in like a broken home. And I was always encouraged to be who I was, but it was like, I knew something was different about me from a very young age, but the way I was raised just didn't line up with that. And so, I just tried to like be the normal kid and be the normal teenager. And, when, you go to high school, you go to college, you get your degree, you get a job. I was engaged in college. I broke it off just because I knew that wasn't what I was supposed to do. That wasn't the path I was supposed to be on. I went to Houston, worked at Westview Fitness, now Avenue, and kind of was just like in this season of figuring out who I was and coming to terms with this different side of me that I always knew but didn't ever want to like dive into. I wasn't ready. And it was like the time to dive into it. Once I started doing that and like coming to terms with the fact that the different part of me was that I was gay. And I was raised with a really strong faith. And so being gay and having faith, like as everyone knows, it's talked about, isn't something that goes together. But I knew in my heart that I was made that way. And it wasn't that I stopped loving the Lord. I knew from a young age when I loved him the most that that's who I was. That's actually why I broke off my engagement. I didn't tell anybody that at the time, but I knew in my heart that was why. And so I didn't want to be the person who married someone to try and be straight and then like break their heart later. And that was a hard decision then because nobody agreed with me, but I knew my reasons. And so, we're in Houston and I'm trying to figure out and accept myself. And I think with being authentic, whether you're straight or whatever, being gay is hard because it kind of changes everything for everyone around you who didn't know. Because what they thought you were is no longer. And so it's hard to accept, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. And so I know for me and for people that were like in my circle of influence, it was really conflicting because I was trying to learn to love myself and other people didn't understand. And it was back to that, hey, this isn't how it should be. I don't agree with you thing. And I just had to learn that even though I loved my job and I loved where I was and I loved what I did, I needed to learn to love myself more than money or a job. Like learning to love myself was more important. And so I left Houston and I just started this journey of trying to like find who I was and find my story and find what I was created to do. I was always someone who loved and who gave, but I didn't love myself for, at least 12 years of my life. I hated myself. I was very depressed. I was very suicidal. I was very, it was just like a battle within. And I wanted to stop that cycle. So I started this journey of figuring out who I was. And unfortunately, when you're 24 years old starting that journey and you make good money, you don't have parents to guide you. It's like going through puberty at 24 with lots of money. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I went through some bad relationships. But through all the mess, I got directed, and the Lord just kind of guided me to my life now. And I'm married, and I have the most amazing wife and child who both push me to be myself more so. They love me as I am, and they love me in the whole discovering more realness about who I am. I just adopted my daughter, who my wife had before. Actually, when I came out, I just wasn't here yet. So, just living the life that I always saw, but there was no one to look at, to like follow, which is, I think, a good thing,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else to say.
I think that was there's so much that you could dissect from that.
There's a lot to think about.
I think that's heavy. And I think, it's a good heavy, because I would say that, I don't know a number. I don't want to throw a number on it, but I can't even imagine how many people who have either whatever the doubts that they have in themselves or fears or anything that they're scared to actually take on. Like you look at it and you took on the fears and you took on the doubts and you took on that lack of confidence to discover why. And I can't imagine the amount of people out there who are doing the same thing. And, it could be with their job, it could be with their marriage, it could be with, their career. Number of different things, but you took that on. So I first I'll just say to commend you on that, because you had the confidence in yourself, even if you might not have seen it at the time, to do that. And that's pretty freaking amazing.
I just wonder, Leticia, how it affected your decision making. When, before coming out, like what kind of decisions were you making, and would they, what the difference would have been if, this would have been from the get-go, hey, I'm gay?
Man, I think I was playing safe, everything I did, it was like playing safe. I was too afraid. I was afraid because I was hiding. And so when you're hiding, you're not able to function as you are. You just want to fit in. You want to be accepted. And I think that's what I did. Like if someone didn't like something and I liked it, I would still say I didn't like it, because it was like I wanted to be accepted so badly. And I didn't accept myself. So I really wanted to be accepted,
Gotcha.
Very fearful.
Yeah. And I can't imagine. And I know I struggle with it too. It's going on with stuff you think about like the times many people go through it, and it's high school or it's any other point in their lives where they feel like they have to be a part of that group. And so they make the decisions with groupthink, and they're too afraid to step out and say, yeah. But like last week we talked about, being crazy and the importance of what it is, and not necessarily like you're loony, but meaning like you think differently. And it's a cool thing to be unique. It's a cool thing to be you, because when you had mentioned, when you're telling your story about the power it had about like influencing the people that you were closest to, and seeing like the decisions that you made at that time, whether they were good or bad, or you were withdrawn, it still affected the people around you. So we all have immense power to impact people in a number of ways. And the way that we present ourselves to the world, to that group of people is vastly important. I think very understated for most people.
Yeah.
Also, Leticia, this is kind of, I know this is personal, so if you can't answer, that's fine. But what was there like one single moment that was kind of like the tipping point, was like, you know what, I've got to get this off my back. I've got to, really truly show my self-image or whatever you want to call it, who I am. Was there one like tipping point or anything like that?
When I just knew, I think like the biggest statement I made was when I came out on social media. I realized there was too much hate, and how are people going to view this differently if we're all just too scared to talk about it? You know, how is anything going to change if everyone's so freaking afraid? And I realized that I had to be the one who was bold enough to say something so that other people had permission to share their lives, because the perception of what you see in Hollywood and on TV is so much different than the reality of what it is. And, you know, I wasn't made gay just to like be something that TV says. I was made gay to like help people learn to love themselves. And if I was quiet, how was that going to happen? And so I just got sick of it. Like there was no one to look to, and I realized I had to be the voice, you know, in my circle of influence anyways.
And that circle of influence, I mean, it can be huge though. You might, I think when you look at it and say, well, this is only my circle of influence, but guess what? When you have that conversation with your group of friends, that impacts how they have those conversations with other friends. And it just keeps rippling. I mean, it just keeps going. Like we talked about that today in a meeting we had here at the gym. It was like the one thing you do can ripple, whether or not you want to believe it, it has power. So your ability to do these things has immense power once you, kind of accept that, realize it, and go on.
Right.
So what has been the biggest change since coming out? What would you say is like, man, this like totally helped me get past this, and now I'm doing this?
The biggest change, and I was talking about this earlier with a friend, is just being more real and being myself. The more I am that, the more the desires I have in my heart and the dreams, the passions, the more I'm able to say yes. Like you asked me earlier about like the decisions I made back then, you know, how was I different when I was in the closet? Is like now that I'm authentic, like I'm able to say yes to, yes, I love music and I love worshiping and I love speaking out and being an influence, where before I was afraid, and like taking that first step was so scary. When I was in the closet, I quit music when I had the opportunity because I was too scared. And now I had the opportunity again this year, and it was like I have broken through so many barriers. Like, why not keep going? The door's there. And so now it's like when I see something that's scary, I realize that it's scary because it's going to be great. And so you got to push through that wall. Or before, I didn't love myself, so I couldn't push through the wall because I hadn't pushed through the wall of like the closet,
Mm-hmm. So. I would say too, like I remember like the thing that when I could see it within you, you did your hair. Like that was the big thing here at the gym, was like you changed your hair.
It was the hair.
It was colored. It was styled. Like, there's probably a sense of jealousy because I never ever styled. More of like, man, why can't I change that? But you can really look at it and see that not only did you change and transform internally and mentally, but like the physical embodiment of that change, all of a sudden you had a big smile on your face. Like you could see a drastic improvement in how you handled your day-to-day life. And so what would you tell somebody that say, maybe mentally they're like, yeah, I know I need to work on this and they're improving, but they don't want to embody that in every aspect. It's like not going all out on it.
That's funny that you mentioned about the hair, because I didn't come out till after. I didn't come to terms with it till after I took that step, which is
right.
Funny. My mom says I was straight until I cut my hair. But like when you have something deep inside of you and you're afraid to admit to someone, whatever your story is, whatever your background is, I think like taking that first step every day, taking that small step every day, and then just like every day you're taking a step. And then you look back and you realize, oh my gosh, I've come so far. It's not about like overnight change or overnight transformation. It's one step at a time. And I even have this conversation with my sister. I'm like, you just have to start dreaming. Whatever those passions are and those desires, and you've at some point stopped believing that you could do it. Like it's like once we become adults, we don't think we can do it. When we finally have the resources to do these things, it's learning to take steps and dream again, whatever it is. And just as you take a step, you realize how far you've come just from the consistent steps over time. And when you feel like you haven't gone very far, look back and see how far you've come.
I like that.
I need to write that down. Actually, yeah, you write that down. And so when you're going through that journey and you're taking those steps and you're being aware of the steps you've taken, there can always be kind of like that
backhanded slaps. Like you're moving forward, you feel great, things are going well, but there's probably going to be some major changes, maybe some negative aspects that can happen to life as well. So you're taking this step for yourself, but you had crafted, say, friendships, relationships, a lifestyle, whatever it might have been, kind of based off of your false sense of self, if that makes any sense. But
Yes.
you had to take that step forward. How was it coping with some of those changes? And just, did you have to just kind of cut ties and realize, hey, this is it? Or were you able to kind of mend some of them? How'd that work?
I mean, at the time when I did come out, it was like the worst thing. I remember we took those personality tests there. And Blake, you and I are the same thing. It was like biggest fear is loss of relationship. And when you come out, you lose so many relationships. I lost a lot of friendships. And the great thing is that I still had grace in my heart for those people to where, yes, a lot of those relationships have mended now 3 years later, 4 years later. And just seeing that come full circle was beautiful because I realized it was also a mourning time for other people, as it was like a coming to life for me. And so like in the moment it hurt because I was changing, but it took time for other people to come around and just accepting that not everyone's going to accept it, whoever you are. Loss of relationship was big and it was hard, but I needed to learn to love myself more than I needed to be accepted for who they wanted me to be.
What was it? Go ahead.
No, I think of what you just said, just thinking about, you had maybe a little bit of, you lost some relationships, at one point, but you've also been able to get those relationships back. Correct. So sometimes, when we do make these big decisions, understand that, not everyone is going to agree. But you keep pursuing your passion, whatever it is, and they'll come around, eventually.
Yeah, and even to build on that, it's like not only will you maybe get some relationships back, but say those relationships and future relationships will have the ability to be 100 times better kind of moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing is too, like the more authentic I became and the more like I would be around someone who accepted me, like my wife, for example, then I got to be more authentic. And then the Lord puts new people in my life who love me just as I am. And because they're loving me just as I am, like they're pulling out more realness of who I'm supposed to be. And they're pulling out things that I didn't even know were there. And they're pulling out things that needed to be healed just because I'm being loved for who I am. So just realizing like being loved for who you are is so much more special and so much more healing than being loved for who you're not. And so you get 100 times better relationships when you start to become yourself. And just the beauty of that is so powerful.
And I'll say this, like, just, thinking about everything that we've talked about is just, I can't, imagine always having to feel like you're somewhat hiding and you can't truly show and be who you are. I mean, I just think about like back in the days when we used to play hide and seek, like I think about when I was hiding, how nervous I was and how stressful it was for that time before I was found. And so, putting this into perspective, it's just, this is hard. And I mean, it's like, so I mean, I respect you so much for like what you've done. And I think it's an incredible story that you're telling.
Thank you, Blake.
Jeez, that was a good, like, where did you pull that out of?
As it happens.
Wow. So for those of you guys who are listening, Blake just, man, that honestly, like I was sitting here listening to the hide and seek metaphor you just threw out there. That is incredible because it happens in such different depths. I mean, obviously you can be something as
Simple as a game.
Yeah, as simple as a game, or it can be like true decisions that will impact your entire freaking life. Like it's incredible. So good job. Well done.
So Leticia, I'm going to go ahead and after that. So what are you pursuing now? What are you doing now? Because I think our listeners, are going to be interested in this.
I mean, right now, like, I do online coaching and more, it's just evolving into more life coaching because, I wish I had someone to look to when I was going through all this. And it doesn't matter whatever your story is, just realizing like taking those steps is so important because I don't think we're here to all be the same. I think we're all supposed to be different. So I'm trying to like help people learn to love who they are and grow in that because how are you supposed to give your gifts if you're not being true to yourself? And so there's that. And then, currently just working on music and actually pursuing it and working every opportunity I get to go and grow in that, like not being afraid because I've never done it and I might suck, like being like, okay, I might suck at first, but I'm going to get better. And I love it. And playing at bars about once a month. Like there's a restaurant bar thing that we playing at church. Just and finding a church that accepts me and my wife and my child, and I'm on stage. And, that was something that I told couldn't happen. And I knew in my heart that it would. And it's, I don't know, helping other people see that is something that just burns deep in my heart. Like if there's something you believe in and everyone tells you it's not possible, like you believe in it for a reason. So keep looking. So that's, being a mom, being a full-time mom, I get to make breakfast and lunch every morning and get the child ready for school. And that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of what I'm doing.
I'll tell you this, your little girl, she looks like she's always having so much fun just with our, what you post on Facebook, y'all's videos and pictures. And I can tell you this, she looks like super thrilled, super happy, super cute as well.
Thank you. She's the happiest kid I know. Very loved too.
I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact of your influence. Like I said, so, some people out there who might look at it and say their circle is so small, the impact that you're able to have on your daughter moving forward every single day, every little interaction you make makes her better. So when she does that and she pushes that forward into the world, like it's amazing. And so as a parent, I understand exactly what that is. And mine's not quite on the level yet of understanding like depth, but she understands joy. And so that's a big deal. And you're able to impart that knowledge and help your daughter impart it upon others and be accepting and to be open-minded and to be crazy and to be out there and to change worlds. Like that's huge. I commend you for that. I really do.
Thank you. And I think that's the thing is like our generation teaching, because, we're all having kids now is allowing them to be who they're supposed to be and encouraging that, uniqueness and not saying like it's weird to be different because that's what we were taught. It's being like, dude, be different. Like if someone doesn't like your healthy spinach tortilla, like be like, you eat your food, I'll eat my food. Like we'll be friends, no big deal. Because that happens at kindergarten, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so, she's totally like her own unique character, and it's really awesome to watch. And how do you let someone be themselves? But it's encouraging the next generation to have a voice and to be different.
That's awesome. And I have one question. If you were to give advice to somebody, okay, you've just imparted a lot of stuff and knowledge for somebody who is struggling and going through this struggle. I'm going to kind of twist that around and say, what would you tell somebody who might have a friend that is struggling with whatever it is, a spouse who in that might, their thoughts or whatever it is they're trying to do might be different, or, and what would you tell that person? How could they support their friend? How could they support their spouse, their family member, coworker, whatever it is?
Man, and this was something I was given and I had learned to give as well, is just loving them, giving them grace, trying to not have advice, but just understand and listen, I think is the biggest thing that you could do. Like, I think it's the greatest gift you could give, because so often we're told what to do. And if you're like me, like being told what to do is not fun. You don't want to do what you're told. You're going to do the opposite. And so sometimes like just loving that person and encouraging them and telling them it's going to be okay. And then to try to look at the positive. If everything is a mess and everything feels negative, which we like to focus on, think about everything that's right. And that'll encourage you and them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. You got anything?
Leticia, I have one more thing. Just because we have you, we're Skyping with you and, the video is turned on. Your hair game is strong today.
I was going to ask what you use to style.
Thanks.
I'd say, like, man, I was going to ask a hair-related question as well because I feel inadequate.
I know. Let's go get new hair.
I'm growing it right now. It's really long. So thank you.
That's nice. Well, how can people find you? Like, how can people get in touch with you if, say, maybe someone does have questions or they want help or they want to kind of understand, what it is they're going through and they need that person that can give them advice? How can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I believe I'll have to give you the handles. I don't know. But I'm all over those because they're all kind of different. I think one's like Leticia Wild and one's just Leticia Marie. But yeah, I'm all over social media. Like I always am messaging people on there. It's the greatest way to get in touch with me.
Cool. And I'll put those in the show notes too, so people can link over to them for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leticia. We really appreciate your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would say it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of just guts to be able to go through certain things and be able to stand up for yourself. So mad props to you for going through that.
Thank you.
So there you have it, episode 12 in action. That was fantastic. It was a great interview. It was a great story. Go check out Leticia. Go give her a follow. Say what's up. Tell her how your story or her story impacted you. And then on that note, if you want to tell us, feel free. We would love if you would go to iTunes and give us a 5-star review or whatever you feel we deserve. And then in turn, the more people that review our podcast, the more people are able to hear it, because podcast has one of those good old things. So make sure you're going and you're reviewing, you're giving us feedback and letting us know what it is that you guys really, really dug from this. So we will see you guys next week. Have a good week. #2Dragons.